speaking, he did. Barry does. And so, Joe, you can count how many times ago, because I know I'm going to do it a lot, Richard. It is in the English book, I hope. And
there we go.
There we go. There's my first one. But anyhow, first of all, thank everybody being here. This is where Barry chose one day he wanted his ashes buried or be released here on this ground, and he wanted my dog Caesar Cujo to be a part of it. A part, but he wanted mixed because he wants to. Him and Cujo, he said they want to run the coyotes off over here. But anyhow, I don't know why Barry really picked this spot, other than he said that it will never be timbered, so he don't want no trucks running over it. But I think a lot of it had to do, you can't see it, but over there's Barry's house. It's his first house, his first marriage, his first dog, and his first son, Boomer. This is Boomer here. And other than that, I mean, I think, Barry had a lot of good times over there. All these people have been to his house, I believe, most everybody. But I think that's a lot why he wanted his ashes here. We first started, Joe's at 2005 or 6, I get it mixed up. 2005, we started riding or hunting over here. Then we shortly after that started riding four-wheelers. And this was one of the many stops that we've had along this trail. Most everybody that's been with us, they know what I'm talking about. And of course, every stop, everybody's got stories. And I wish people want to tell a story on Barry. When it's all said and done, you're more than welcome to. I got so many, but I'm going to let everybody else who wants to say something. I'm going to try to play a couple songs. But on this trail, we've talked about everything from women, moms and dads, babies, motor oil, right, Rhino? Yeah. Especially hunting. And hunting is, everybody's here is pride and joy. We take a lot of pride in it. And there he is again. And Barry, he not only told stories about over here, but about his entire life. We all did. And a lot of the good stories were, I want to say something here, three of Barry's turkey hunting buddies here, which is almost in, is Michael Lenneberg, back here in the red shirt, back there. One of Barry's best friends, Johnny Oates, cha-ching, cha-ching. You hear Bunny rattle every time he moves. And Ted Miller, wherever he's at. Most people
back behind you.
So, all right, but like I said, there's a lot of stories. Everything we talked about, like I said, we talked about Michael, all them stories, Johnny. Everybody knows about you in the window now. That's all I'm going to go.
Be careful.
You in the window.
Be careful.
And Todd Lockhart here, he's got a shirt on. I don't know if you see that shirt he's got on, but that used to be on his brother Barry. Well, they got over here one day, Mom, you didn't know Barry drank. I don't know if you do that or not.
He carried water all the time.
Yeah, like Butch. But anyhow, they got the drunk, and we all got to pick on Barry by that shirt. Well, Todd Lockhart said, well, I like that shirt. So Todd, what did y'all do? Swap off, got naked, and swap clothes?
Yeah, he had one underneath. He said, "You like this shirt? It's yours."
Okay. But anyhow, Todd wore that in remembrance of Barry. And well, and I'm going to get started. I know John Boy, he's got another function he needs to get to. Where's Roger Whitlock? Another very good friend of Barry. Right here. Very good friend of Barry. Him, they done a lot in nice film. A lot of bars. A lot of bars. Top brass. And, huh?
That was our
I know. That's how I got to know you, unfortunately. Barry drugged me down. He always did. He always did.
twisted your arm.
But anyhow, this is our mom. I know Richard Bouchard. I know I butchered it again. But anyhow, this is my mom. This is our Aunt Barbara. He was very used to spend the night with Uncle Kenny and Aunt Barb a lot. And so let's get this show started. I'm going to do 2 songs. If y'all want to sing, I appreciate it. And the first one is, Where's Bill Smith? Got it? Take Me Home Country Roads. We sang it on this trail many a times from that piece of equipment Bill's got there in the same CD probably. I heard Mountaineer fan. Rhino, what you say? Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Ice is older than the trees,
younger than the mountains, flowing like a breeze. Country road, take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia. Mountain Mama, take me home, country road.
All right. Thank you very much, Bill Smith. Thank you. Another story here. If y'all look at this, we got in honor of Barry Boo Lupton for Bucklick and Friends. And woo! That's what that is. So you always hear us down at the house knowing we're hollering Barry, Keith, Vaughn Reiner, Bobby Weimer, Cujo. Where's I going with this? Anyhow, the way that got started, where's Keith R? Here. Well, like I said, we drank a few beers, maybe 2 or 3, on our whole ride over here, but we still had to go to the bathroom, Mom. Yeah, we did. But anyhow, it got to be Barry Rhino that one go that way, then the other would go that way, and Barry go, woo, and woo, there he is. He always went back. That's how that got started.
Got to know where we was at.
Yeah, yeah, got lost here. Then, all of a sudden, they started getting closer. They started getting closer to each other. But anyhow, I got one more song I want to play. Then, if anybody wants to talk, I'm going to let Jamie Lupton. He's my nephew right there. He's got a story behind the rocks here. I like for him to tell a story. Then he can say something. Then you still on cue? Then Dr. Garnett back here, he wants to say something. Anybody else wants to say anything after them, you're more than welcome. Tell a story. I know, Michael, you got tons, so I know you don't want to tell them here or not, but that's fine. You don't have to rat John Boy out. But anyhow, buddy, where you at? Just try to play a song. It's called, this fits Barry, this fits us in general. It's called Drink a Beer. And we drank a lot of beers here at this place, but listen to the words. This ain't a pier, but it's pretty close. But other than that, everything's probably about 75–80% what we do, how we are. All right, buddy. So drink beer from Chris Staples, not Luke Brad. I gotta tell you, listen to the words.
That's all you can see from Ed's bedroom back there.
When I got the news today, I didn't know what to say, so I just hung up the phone. Took a walk to clear my head. This is where the walking led. Can't believe you're really gone. Don't feel like going home, so I'm gonna stay right here on the edge of this field. Watch the sun.
I'd like for everybody who wants a beer, drink a beer while we start these storytelling. I know Richard Garnett's going to tell a pretty nice one, probably. Like Barry, he's got to be. I'd like everybody to get a beer. Littlebird, or not Littlebird, shit. Where's Weimer? Right here. Did you get his beer? Who's Bell Light? Mike? Okay. I want to get 3 of them. Johnny, Michael, and Ted. All right, let's get a beer, then we'll gather around here real quick. Oh, we'll find it. Don't worry. All right, so everybody. Yeah. All right. Have attention. We're going to start over here. Like I said, before we dump these, we'll do this last movie, I think. I want to introduce this to Jamie. Most people already know him or hadn't they. This is Jamie, my nephew.
Jamie Clyde.
I already said that. Jamie Clyde.
Clyde.
But he's got a story about this. He's going to tell a story. Then go ahead, Clyde.
Okay.
How about it?
Well, I will tell you that Randy talked to me about talking. He said that he told me that I had Dad and Barry had the gift of gab, and so did I. And I wasn't sure if he meant it as a good thing or not. But I started thinking about Barry, and I know that I remember Boomer at Barry's funeral talked about he and Barry had a shared interest in Native American culture and things. Of course, I'm a history teacher, so unfortunately you'll get a little bit of what the kids call Mr. L. But ancient
Mr. who?
people, Mr. L, capital L
Oh.
for Lupton.
Loser.
That was better than El Dizzle. That was the other choice. So anyway, ancient people have always marked battlefields and boundaries with stacks of rock. Archaeologists call them cairns, C-A-R-N-S. And even the pyramids and things are examples of that. They can be big or they can be small. And I think ancient people had an appreciation for the permanence of stone. Things of wood and metal won't be here very long. So thinking about that, and the Japanese, they're real big on taking a stone that has some meaning and putting it in their Zen garden and stuff at their own homes and things. So thinking about all those things, I thought about a couple stories that I think say a lot to me about Barry. One of them was 1983. It was the 1 year that I was never around for the beginning of the hunting season. I was out at Fairmont State as a freshman, and I came home late and had to go back early. It was the year that Papaw gave me his 30-06 that he killed a pile of deer with it. I wasn't doing it much justice. And it was the end of the hunting season for me, a Saturday evening, and we were driving this drive down here that we called Alston South. And I was down on the far end where the creek crosses under the road where you go into Smithwoods, and it's a tangle of shit that you, pardon my French, that you can't see anything in. And I thought, well, I'm not going to kill a deer here. And I heard a noise, and here comes Barry. And Barry'd been right next to me a few years before when I killed my first deer in a driving rainstorm. And I don't even know if I was Clyde yet, but that's typically what he called me at some point. And he told me that, hey, I got a better spot up here. You're not going to kill anything down here. I've got more hunting to do next week and everything. So he traded spots with me and gave me a better stand. I didn't kill a deer, but it taught me something about him that I've always carried with me. And that is we're here because he's an outdoorsman, and he was not a selfish hunter. Some guys, it's all about the deer for themselves. And I never believed that about Barry, and he showed me that day and many times. He was all about other people and enjoying the hunt. It wasn't just about the deer for him and that kind of thing. So he gave me a good stand, and it just spoke a lot to me, and I thought about that. So I grabbed a rock. I figured 2 stones to make a stack, 2 stones, 2 stories. So that's one story. And this is from down there at Alston South. And I'm hoping that maybe in the years to come, other people will think about special Barry memories and bring something. Pick up a stone somewhere in the woods or a pine knot or something, and at some point you bring it back up here. The very next year, 84, was the year I killed my first deer with Papaw's old gun, and it was on a Saturday evening at the end of the day, and we were making the turkey feeder drive over there above Sidla Follets. And back then, you line up in the power line, and then you go out through the pines, and eventually, back in 84, there was a big clearing in the middle. And from down in the hollow, Klein Hollow to the right, you could hear woo-woo, the drivers, the deer running up the hill, and I hear gunshots, pow, pow, and you could tell a drove of deer were coming up the ridge. And when they got to us, they broke into the clear, and then they speeded up. And Gerald Brill was down there with that old bolt-action shotgun, and he cranked off one round, and the buck was running at the end, and then there was Barry, and then there was me. And the other thing about Barry was he could give you some good advice. And he was yelling advice at me the whole time. And, Rod, watch where you're shooting, damn it. Those kind of things. So I'm waiting. I figure I'm not going to shoot at it in front of him, which I probably should have. And I just waiting. And finally, of course, the buck went from the back to the front. And I cranked off a couple rounds. And if you remember this gun, I don't know how Papa ever killed a deer with it. It had no bell on the front and a big bell on the back. It was like 1.5 power scope. So finally, I flipped that out of the way and got down the iron sights. About the last shot I had, the old 30-06 round pushed the deer over. And like I said, Barry was yelling instructions to me, giving me advice the whole time. And it didn't help. But I believed it was because he cared about me. So we were in the drive, and the drive eventually got relined up and they went on. So then he and I were there, and we gutted the deer together and everything. He killed a deer earlier that day. And of course, this is back in the day when you killed one deer, one and done. And Barry had cut a cane. We carried the canes, the walking sticks. And while we waited, we talked, we gutted the deer, drug it up to the road, to the top of the ridge, because it was right at the beginning of the drive. And he cut a cane for me. And I still have it.
What year?
1984. And I carved my initials in it and things like that. It's got turkey feeder on it, and it was a 6-point buck. And somewhere I have an old Polaroid picture, probably taken by Mike Cooper. I couldn't find it for today. Barry and me with our 2 deer that day. So this has an honored spot in my house, and it just made me think about him. Could you hold on to that? So another rock, second story, second rock. This is out in the turkey feeder, and I'll tell you, it's a lot different out there. When I was out there this morning about 7 o'clock, I was afraid I'd get arrested for trespassing. This is that rock from that place. So 2 stones to start a stack, 2 stories. I'm hoping over the years that other people will add to it.
Oh, we will.
So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jamie.
Yep.
Richard, Dr. Barnett?
Type of setting for Barry, because this is obviously what he wanted and what he loved. He was a true son of the hills and mountains of West Virginia, and he lived a life of enjoyment living in these hills. You know, I've known Barry less than I've known the rest of the Lupton family, because when I used to hunt this mountain over here, started when I was 16 years old in high school. I've hunted that mountain from the State Farm end all the way to the Yellow Spring Gap, where I now have a home. We spend a lot of time there. And I got to know what mountain hunting was. I was born and reared in the city, and I've hunted down there all my life, but the ground's flat down there. You don't have all these hills to climb up and down. Anyway, Barry certainly did love the hills. Yeah, I think he loved everything about it. I do believe that turkey hunting was probably his first love. I wasn't at Barry's wedding. Anybody here was at Barry's wedding when he was married?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was there, what I remember.
What was he wearing?
White.
White, all white.
White
long
top, yeah,
tail
you're right.
tuxedo. Can't
All
you
white.
imagine Barry Lupton in a white tux?
Yeah.
I've seen pictures, so I know it happened. My wife was there at the wedding. But he truly loved his turkey hunting. I mean, he kind of put up with deer hunting, I think. But turkey hunting was his first love. Certainly in the latter part of his life, his second love was trail rides. And this bunch, you haven't lived until you've been on a trail ride with the Lupton clan and their friends. You ride for 30 minutes, you drink for 30 minutes. I don't know how they got to telling the
Kicked off out of here. Richard can kick us out.
I don't know how they got to telling the stories, because they were always drinking beer.
Saving gas, bro.
I remember one night we came in from a trail ride, and we were at one of the 2 hunting cabins we have up the hill over there. Everybody was having a good time. We were all sitting right there on the porch, and people were drinking. And Barry did something that he went to his grave, and I never forgave him for. And when I get to heaven, and I'm sure Barry's going to be up there, I'm going to get St. Peter. We'll bring him over, and I'll tell you, I won't tell you, St. Peter, what this man did to me. He snuck up behind me one night and kissed me. And I'm going to ask St. Peter, how did he get through pearly gates?
Hey, Richard, that when you got your pistol license?
I went and got and I said, from now on, I'm going to be wearing a pistol. And I always watched him when he got around behind me to make sure he wasn't trying to pull another trick like that. But he surely did love the outdoors. And he loved those trail rides we used to go on. One thing I never quite understood, his mother told me one time that when he was young, he wanted to be a preacher. I said, "Have you got the right son? Are you sure?" Well, I didn't see Barry Lupton being a preacher. But I guess, you know, life goes on and people change as they grow older. So Barry was one who was a true son of West Virginia. This is the first official day of fall. Fall came in at 9:54 this morning. It was his time of year, as is mine. I love the fall, the beautiful colors you have, and I love the mountains. I was born and reared in a city, but I've always loved the mountains. I love these mountains. Maybe not as much as Barry, but I was somewhere in the league. He loved to hunt for mushrooms in spring, and he'd talk about going up in the gap where he said they grew. I'm not a mushroom hunter, but he always wanted to find somewhere else. I don't know whether he got his mother to fry him up or he fried him up or what. Anyway, he was one of the real characters you meet in the road of life. I enjoyed knowing him. I was always amazed when we'd be down at Randy's gathered and they'd turn the radio on. At every country and western song that came on, if Barry was feeling pretty good, he'd start singing. Every week he'd start singing, and he knew the words to all the songs. This time reading, I guess it's from his DJ days or whatever it might have been. And Roger, I so enjoyed your singing at his funeral. I thought maybe you might do the same up here because you're quite a musician. and I know he thought a lot of you too. Anyway, it's been a pleasure for me to know this area of the world, spend time up here, spend a lot of time up here now, and I hope I get to live a little bit longer. I'll be 80 in a couple of weeks, so if you add up 16 when I started and 80 in a couple of weeks, that's 64 years that I've been running these bridges up here. And I'm still able to run them a little bit, except I use my machine. My machine is my legs. Appreciate talking. I've been around here so long. I remember when Randy Joe was born. Last time I know where Randy Joe is, my wife made a special pillowcase one time, and you told me you still had that pillowcase.
Still have all of them.
Still have all of them. She made with a name on it, and it's quite nice. And I've seen others grow up in here. I knew Jesse very well, the father of this clan, and Jesse was a character too. And I always remember the night we had a wine and cheese party up at the log cabin up on the hill. Jesse said, "I've never been to a wine and cheese party. What do you do?" All I know is when the wine and cheese party was over, one of his sons had him under one arm and the other one had him under the other. And they lifted him up and his legs were going, but he wasn't touching the ground. Yeah. Anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to talk, and I enjoyed being here. And I shall always remember Barry.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richie.
Yeah, Richard, you too. You know, you're a big part of our family. I think you know that now. I mean, you come down every Thursday, Friday, and drink all the beer, but you do replenish it. You do replenish it. No.
I remember the day I brought 436 cans of beer up here.
Yes, that's
4 cases of 36 beer for each of the 3 Lupton brothers.
Yeah,
Now, Barry was having back problems. He was having back problems, but when I opened the back of that little CRV that all that beer was in, it took him just about 2 minutes to transport his 4 cases of beer to the back of that gold Explorer he drove. They disappeared, never to be seen again. He was not a big one for sharing his beer. Thank you.
Hey, Richard, does anybody else want to say anything?
Ted Miller.
Huh?
Ted Miller.
Ted, anybody want to say anything?
I'm like everybody else here. I could tell stories forever. I just get, choked up on him. So, my grandfather told me a long time ago that in your lifetime, you're going to meet a lot of people. But the day you die, that you'll probably be able to count on your hands your best friends. And he's one of them. Sorry.
That's all right.
But it's hard.
I'll tell a story.
Yeah, she can talk for me.
I'm going to give you like the Barry Lupton. Is this going to be the short version? Barry tells a story, it goes on and on.
Hey, Bum.
That'll be short.
Well, hold on. Is this 1 or 2 beer story?
Yeah. You might want to get more. Brandon. For as many years as I can remember, pulling into that house Saturday before deer season, and the Barry was waiting for us to come, and he had these horrible red long johns
With the paint stains.
and I remember that Long John's is older than you were, and he would say, "Come here, baby, I'm going to give you a big wet one." Well, Barry never gave me a wet smooch, and he was more wind than he was worse anyway. But he just was like, I know he was like a brother to Ted. And I'd say he was kind of like a brother to me, but then that would mean Ted and I were brother and sister. But he was a good friend, and I miss him.
Anybody else?
I have a rock from under the bench, is where this came from. So 1 story, 1 rock from me. Thanks, Jamie. That's a great idea.
Yeah, it is. Excellent. We'll be over here doing any more.
I will say this, that in turkey season, Michael and John Boy and Barry and I sat in amazement because everybody here knows that he could just tell stories constantly. But when he got on Michael and John Boy, I just sat back and kept my mouth shut because it was so much enjoyment. It was just amazing, and because he could just tell stories all the time, and of course everybody here knows that. So it was a wonderful, wonderful experience with the whole Lupton family for all those years of watching and growing up with everybody here and becoming the friends that we've all come. That's why we're here.
Seemed like we would get together every year up at Michael's at the garage. And when we first started going out turkey hunting, it seemed like, man, we couldn't wait to get out there. I mean, even before daylight, we was walking the woods, it was dark. Well, it seemed like every year at Michael's, it kept getting a little bit later. Finally got to the point where, heck, it was 8 or 9 o'clock, and somebody said, are we going to go turkey hunting or not? But it wasn't always about turkey hunting up there.
Oh, no.
It was so much fun we had. We laughed and we had so much fun picking on each other, and he really laid it on you, didn't he, Michael?
Hey, Johnny, tell the story when you sat down on the ground up there that day. And Barry told you to get up.
We were turkey hunting up on Middle Ridge one day, and we were scattered out, and I picked this nice spot and was sitting down. Everything seemed to be going just fine. And I don't know, somewhere along the line, Barry come along and he's ready to get up and go. And Barry said, come on, let's go. And I said, I can't. He said, what's wrong? I said, I can't move. He said, what's wrong? I said, I sat right down in the yellow jacket and that's right.
He said, get up and run.
Oh, yeah. Right. But there's one more thing I got to, no, I can't tell that one. There's one more thing I got to tell about Barry. How much blood do you think Barry lost out of that Valmont? Pulling the trigger on that thing.
Several times, yes.
3 times that I know of. And the one time we come down along the bottom Middle Ridge, the turkey comes sailing off on the other side and come into Barry, and he threw one at him. And when he was down from us a good ways, and after a bit, here comes Barry up through the white pines with his head down like the blood just running off of him. It got him again. It happened to Ted, didn't it, up on the mountain?
Yep.
He called, and here comes turkey right at him.
Yep.
Pulled the trigger. Here come
My
Barry.
buddy mine,
Here
yep.
come Barry across toward Jenny's cabin. Blood down on
The gun kicking and busting his nose.
That's
And
right.
then sometimes he had like the scope and it busted.
I'll tell one more.
One more.
I'll tell one more. This was
This is getting good.
that was Michael, John Boy, and I. We were up hunting up towards Spring Mountain, and we'd come out. Barry and I come out first. Barry's hip was bothering him, so we walked out and we sat down there. And we were talking. Barry said, "Ted," he said, "I got that decoy in my back of my pickup there." He said, "Back of your pickup." He says, "Why don't you get that decoy?" He says, "And I'll take it down in the woods and I'll set it up." He says, "John Boy and Michael aren't back here yet." He said, "You can." He says, "You just sit there and you say like that." He says, "I'll be down there in the woods and I'll start calling." So Barry takes the decoy down in the woods. He gets off to the side. John Boy's coming up the road, and he walks over to him in. We sat there and talked a little bit, and John Boy says, "I'm going to get up there and get in the pickup." So he goes up and gets in the pickup. Barry starts calling turkeys down in the woods. John Boy, he's sitting in the pickup, and I got my video camera going. So I have the camera on John Boy, and Barry's a calling, and John, he's a looking around, and I'm trying to keep the camera steadied and everything because I'm laughing. And so I look around, and John Boy's disappeared. And I could see the top of his head going across in his cab of his truck. And as I'm taking the picture, he goes out the side door, the passenger side, goes the whole way around the front of the truck. And he's doing, and so when I got the picture of him, he's coming like this with his shotgun. And I thought, about time we tell Barry that he has his shotgun. So Barry stood up then, and
Yeah, I looked up there and I started with that video camera right now. I done pulled the Barney Fife shuffle around that.
Hey, Bob, tell the story the time you and I were over at Spring Mountain and Johnny and Barry and Ted were out next to the power line.
Oh,
Let's see how they go. Oh, we were turkey hunting.
We were scouting
For
deer, really.
Well, anyhow, I knew Barry, Michael, and Johnny were over there.
Next ridge over.
Grapevine down in that area. And I got on the radio, I got all detail. Joe, did you hear that gobbler gobbling? About that time. Bum, where you at? Where you at? It was Barry on the radio. He was already on one side. Now I set him up. And we heard us talking on the radio. He wanted to know where the turkeys were. Yeah, that's the way Barry was. He did that a couple times. Over here too.
Right up at the top of this hill, Todd Spade, Randy, and Barry and I were over here hunting turkey. And I was sitting up on top of the hill down over the brow in the woods just a little ways, and turkey started calling over on my side. And I got on the radio and I told him I had turkeys calling in front of me. So I moved down a little bit. I moved down maybe 10 yards, and I got myself against the tree like that where I have a little bit of cover. And I see the heads of the turkeys going through underneath that rock ledge. I could see their heads. About that time, whoo! My gun goes off, and I turn around, and there's Barry sitting behind me. Shot the turkeys out in front of me. Never killed any. Bobby LaFollette said, I've never seen guys like Michael and Johnny and Ted and Barry spend all that time turkey hunting and never kill no turkeys. He said, I wonder what's going on there.
I'd like to share a Barry memory.
Not
a story, just a memory.
All right, Richard.
Joe, I got to tell Joe Lupton. The same night that Barry kissed me up at that cabin, they were drinking so much beer, they must have set a world record for drinking beer one night that night. Anyway, different people were on there with beer, and they were going to different trucks to get beer. So somebody said, Joe, go up to the truck and get beer. A couple minutes later, here comes Joe back down the hill, and he said, where in the hell did the truck go? He couldn't find the truck. I filled the brush out, remember?
All right, anybody else?
Yeah.
So we.
Yeah, I want
Oh,
one
okay.
too.
All right. Go ahead, Brent, real quick, and Roger wants to say something.
Anybody who knows Barry, most of us all know that Barry served in the Army Reserve. So I got in 94. I was 17. Dad had to sign because I couldn't even get in on my own because I was only 17. Barry was real proud of me that I chose to serve in the same company that he did. So I hated basic training. After a couple days there, it was back when I used to run around with Trevor. I missed all my friends so bad. I wanted to come home and drink beer and party with my buddies. I didn't want to do that Army thing. Well, I would call home, and I was, oh my God, I was homesick. You know, I'd lay in my rack at night and cry. I was so lonely. And I remember calling Mama's. I called it Lupton headquarters. I would write letters home and to Lupton headquarters because I knew everybody goes in there. And Barry would talk to me, and everybody knows him, you know, knows, man, is he a wordsmith? He just has a way of talking to you, and he made me proud to, like, all right, I've got this, I can do it. And then years down later, 2002, I go to Afghanistan, and Dad was pissed about that. I was all excited. And I remember calling home. I didn't miss home like, it wasn't like basic training. I didn't want to go home. I wanted to serve over there after 9/11. So I remember calling home and talking to Barry, and he just always made me feel so much better. And one really cool thing, Barry'd always come into Mama's and, Sergeant Lupton, and he would smack me on the back so hard. He wouldn't like pat you on the back, he'd smack you on the back. I hated that. But he came in there one morning, sitting around the table eating breakfast, and he said, I want you to have these. And I was an E5, I was a buck sergeant. And it was his staff sergeant, his E6 rank that he got when he got out. And he said, put these on one day. And I remember telling Barry, I'm getting out, you know, I'm done. I'm tired of it. So I got out at 14 years. Long story short, I got 6 weeks later, I arrested a guy when I was a deputy. And he said, if I get in the military, will you drop some charges? Because he was DUI, and then he tried to fight me. So I threw the book at him. And I said, yeah, you get in the Army, I'll drop all the charges but the DUI. So I did, and I said, his name is CC. I said, CC, don't think I'm not going to check on you. So I call a recruiter. Next thing, now I'm in the Guard. So I did my last 7 years in the Army National Guard, where I did my last 4 and got promoted to E6 Staff Sergeant with the 201st Field Artillery, which, if y'all don't know, it's the oldest continuously serving unit in the United States Army. And the day I told Becky, I said, I'm getting promoted. And I gave the commander that rank, and he didn't pin me with the patch that they're supposed to put on me, the little patch rank. I got pinned with Barry C6 rank, and I loved that. Just want to share that. I retired with Barry.
Let me give you one more Barry advice story that's a funny one. When I never went to Afghanistan or anything like Brent did, but when I was a freshman in college at Fairmont, out where Ted and Ricky Hare met, I lived in the same house where Ricky Hare lived, Miss Dillinger. And I was homesick, and I would talk to Barry on the phone about every Sunday, and he'd always make me feel better. Like,
Jamie, was Ricky's phone number still on the wall?
I don't know. What happens in Fairmont stays in Fairmont.
That was Dewey Street.
Dewey Street. Anywho, one of my roommates, I started finding these balls of paper on the floor by his desk where he's writing letters, and I unballed them and stuff, and he was trying to write a letter to his girlfriend and tell him that he had the crabs. And that he got him off the toilet seat or something like that. So I tell Barry this, and he said, Clyde, you got to go down to the store and get yourself a pair of king-size pantyhose. So that was his advice to me, was to wear pantyhose. Because my roommate might have had the crabs.
Oh, God. Roger, said you wanted to...
Yeah, I'm not a big storyteller or whatever.
Sing it.
I hope I can make sense of this, but I'm going to go back to the time that that I met Barry. And I was a diesel mechanic and a part-time musician. But my mind was 100% musician. And I became a divorced father of 4, and like drunk musicians do, they write songs. They put it in music. I wrote a couple of songs pertaining to that, and I sang them for Barry, and he said they're good songs. Well, me and him hooked up, and we became friends. We did a lot of traveling. We went to Nashville several times, trying to shop those songs. And he was on my side. He was my mentor. He was a DJ. He knew a lot of people. And he tried to guide me towards my goal. That's how good a friend he was. But then we decided to cut a 45 record, both sides, my songs. And he arranged that. We got it done. It turned out decent. He played it on up at the station in Williamsport, Maryland, that he worked at as a DJ.
WYII.
That was it. And it became a semi-hit at that one radio station. And, which, I tell you what, if you're a musician and the first time you hear your song played on the radio is one of the greatest feelings you'll ever have. Yeah. And so then we kept running back and forth to Nashville. He was in the reserves and at the time, and he got me a spot on what was called Country Music Time, sponsored by the U.S. Air Force. And I sang one of my songs on that with Rex Allen Jr. was the headliner of this supposed show. It was all done in a recording studio in Nashville, and the musicians would stop playing and clap like an audience would. That's how they arranged it, okay? But that song got played all over the world, and when he played it, he was in Germany and played that song. And he was supposed to break the record after it was played, because there was a commercial for the Air Force, right? He saved it. I have it hanging on my wall today, that album. But there were some great times. I mean, it was, I don't know. It was a fun time. He kept his job. I had no job.
living off of the music and staying drunk and everything. But anyway, it was a great time to be alive in that time period. And this was probably 1974, I believe, when I first met Barry. And from then until the early 80s, and then I think that was about the time that Barry decided he didn't want to be a DJ, the music business. Well, he was actually in the music business because he played country music and dealing with the Nashville scene. And he decided he didn't want to. I decided that, hey, I'm 39 years old. Got a pot to piss in or anything. I need to make something for myself also, you know, and this music ain't doing it. I mean, it's a living, but it's not real living. So then I quit that and started a real job. So that's what, yeah, well, it was a real job, but that was what I wanted to be when I was growing up, was a truck driver. When I was 6 years old, I wanted to drive a truck. So that's what I turned out to do, but it served me okay, and what Barry did served him well. So, but in that time frame of music, that's what we were all about. Was he was all music, I was all music, and that's what we were striving for. We made it one step up, but that's great. Barry was my friend, and God bless him.
All right. Anybody else want to say anything?
Boomer?
Boom, you want to? Okay.
Well, just thank you. Just thank you for everyone to come out. I don't want to say anything.
Okay. Good enough, Boo. All right. You want to?
And he I never was a big hunter, even though I was raised on a farm. 15 miles from here, probably, in Virginia. And it never was a big hunter. I always knew Barry was, but it didn't become between us. He never insisted I come hunt with him or anything.
Didn't think less of you.
No, he didn't think less of me because I wasn't a hunter. So.
All right. I'm not sure if I told everybody who used to be over here hunting that's not with us anymore, but the first member, our first friend that we lost over here was Bobby Weimer. A few of you knew him, some of you didn't, but his brother Kenny and his son Sean's here. They're still here with us. And then, of course, there was Vaughn Reiner. Everybody remember Vaughn. Rhino's here, and his daughter, Tina, are here representing them. And then, of course, there's Keith. There's Jamie Clyde.
A bit of him to leave here.
All right, there's.
You know what that means, the color.
Now there's Boo, and now there's my dog Caesar. He was much as us over here when it camped. Right, Bill?
Cujo
used to camp with us. He used to ride four-wheeler. He done it all. And but anyhow, appreciate everybody being here. We're going to go to my place afterwards. When we leave here, you're all more welcome. We're going to fix a little food, drink a little beer, some of them more. So whoever wants to stop, come on by. Richard, you're more than welcome. If you need to know where I live, we'll give you directions. All right, Boo, you want to dump these ices? Your dad? I don't have them open. Oh.
Hold on.
I eat it.
All right, you get that, and I'll get Caesar's.
Did you tell everybody about Caesar? Why you're doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I think I did. I told him that Barry wanted. Yeah, I did. Hey, Connie. Hey,
You okay?
That's Pop. Where you go?
You leave. Whatever you want to go.
I'll take one ground. Oh, where's you got his? Let's see. Here, this is fight an 80-pound dog versus how much Barry weigh when he fight 175?
He lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Plus, I have a good bit of his ashes still.
Yeah. Don't fall under.
I'm gonna put some here. I'm gonna put some over the bank too. To over there. Connie girl. I need you to stay out of the way, please. Baby.
Come here, Connie.
Connie.
Connie. Come here. Connie.
Yeah, and then they,
Rick, what you do with that beer? Go ahead, pour it. Go ahead, pour it.
Connie, Connie, come here.
Let Boom be careful with it.
Careful,
Boom.
Boom.
Make sure you look around and pick up all
they wanted you to drive them truck 23 out of 24.
Careful, Boom. Connie, come here. Come here.
Connie. Connie.
Come here, Connie. Connie, get up here. Come on.
Good girl.